That's it, man. This is Sausalito looking into San Francisco. It's unbelievable.
Truly beautiful. This is the one place coming over Golden Gate and also over the Bay Bridge where you can see the whole Bay Area. And we often just look out and we're like, wow, there's just so many people out there and God loves every single one of them. And so that is our heart for the Bay Area, is that we would be able to bring Jesus to them. Because it really is a beautiful city, but it's also a really broken city, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always say it's beautifully broken. And so you don't need a rocket scientist to figure out, once you drive through it, you start to see how many people are homeless on the streets. They're in dire straight living conditions. But I think that's where the church shines the brightest, where it's the darkest.
It's one of those things, like I honestly, growing up and even, being in church together, I never thought that I would live outside of Australia.
Yeah, me too.
It's really funny, but it is home now. Because we've been praying really the same prayer for 20 years, believing for a miracle over Brendan and also our two boys, Jaden and Jensen. They have a severe skin condition that really is painful for them most days. And so we go through a lot every single day. And so we're believing for their healing. We have decided within our hearts, that we trust in Jesus, and we've seen the miracles, and that doesn't dishearten us. That actually fills us with hope for our boys and for Brendan, that their future would see that too. And so that never stops us for praying for people, because we believe it and we know the character of Jesus. We trust in him.
One thing that I can't stop thinking about is that you become what you behold. And I think the beautiful thing about the miracles happening here or in LA or in Orange County or the Bay Area, what it is, it's not so much we're seeking something. We actually should be seeking Jesus. And when we behold him, we find he is the miracle worker, he is the healer, he is the one who restores. And as we put our attention on him, we actually behold his beauty and his goodness. And as we behold him, we become, or we see his kingdom come into our lives.
When I moved to San Francisco in January 2019, I actually was introduced to Hillsong. My roommate at the time, she was my best friend from college, and she had already been attending Hillsong for a few months. And I was not practicing any sort of religion at the time. There was something that would always bring me back to Hillsong. And so then after Brennan and I met, we ended up going to service with Krista often, and every Sunday we would have a great opportunity to meet with other Hillsong friends. But we weren't serving on team, we weren't volunteering. I didn't know what home was supposed to feel like. And every Sunday I would go, and I knew I was looking for a feeling or I was looking for a sign. But it wasn't until March of last year that I started to have pain in my right arm for a while. And I just remember specifically thinking okay, is this something I live with for the rest of my life? Is this what do I do about it? Brendan was called to just pray for people with right arm pain. I just remember thinking oh my gosh, this really could be me. This could be the sign I'd been looking for several years. It could be the spontaneous healing that I might have, been thinking about, but I didn't know how to ask for it, because at that point in time, I just wasn't really, I wasn't able to call myself as a follower of faith, and to ask Jesus for something, and then, I felt like I was not allowed to do that. And then all of a sudden to be healed before I was baptized, it felt right. It felt like I was worthy, and it felt so special. And I remember just thinking okay, I'm being called to do something right now, and it's being called to become a follower of Jesus and become baptized. And I just felt so seen and loved and cared for, and it felt like I was finally home.
I wanted her to make that genuine decision on her own. And I didn't want to put pressure of like, just do it because you want to date me or anything like that, right? Like I wanted to be her genuine decisions. But I really prayed for it a lot. I met so many genuine people at Hillsong. I grew up and used to work in a church, and then I did a whole bunch of other churches, and I saw some churches like they could talk on stage, but the community wasn't always there, right? Like the genuine people that like actually lived the walk day to day. That's how I came to Hillsong. The messages were great, the service was great, it was all awesome, but the community was like also like genuine and authentic. It was really, it was such an answer to prayer.
It's been so amazing to serve at Hillsong because professionally speaking, I am a behavior analyst. So what I actually do professionally is work with neurodiverse children and their families and to serve them in a more clinical concept. But being able to bring my vocation, like that, my gift from God, to Hillsong and to serve in not only our kids' room, but like to also serve with trainings on team nights. So I'm able to share child developmental like milestones and really give strategies and insight into just child growth for parents. I never genuinely just imagined taking my professional purpose and moving it towards a God-given purpose and be able to share it with my community and to help just raise our next generation of kids like that are just believing in God and living their own faith-filled lives.
Yeah, I remember when we decided that we would move to Orange County, we started preparing. Cohen at the time was...
Yeah, he was 3.5 and Noah had just turned 1.
Yeah, and I remember at bedtime every night, I would tell him a story about these two young boys, these brothers who jumped on a plane and moved from Sydney, Australia to Orange County, California. They ended up memorizing that story word for word after telling them that same story night over night. And our first night when we landed here in Orange County, I remember going to bed with them and realizing I need to add to this story because we're here now. I believe that that's the same for our church. And we've had such an incredible journey as a church. Like, when we first arrived, we were having church outdoors, and we did that for a few years as a church here in Orange County. And we love having our own home. But more than ever, we feel that we're called beyond those four walls.
Sometimes we expect like miraculous miracles, which is like a great thing to expect. Yeah. And we believe for them. We believe for healing and for people to be cancer-free or for like miraculous provision. But I actually have seen like some of the smaller miracles take place, like people finding housing in Orange County, and not just housing, but like people have found friendships and found home and found community where maybe family isn't close in California and it's interstate or overseas. People have found home and community and family. And I actually think that's a huge miracle.
Welcome home has always been part of the DNA of our church, and it's something that we've always looked for in the facilities where we gather for church, that it would feel like a home. And it's more than branding, it's more than a sign, it's the spirit of our house. God, you're going to do something incredible in gathering and building a family here within these four walls.
So I walked in, and like the second I heard the music, I was just like bawling my eyes out. And I tried sitting in the back, like all the way to the left so that no one could see me and stuff. And Sarah actually was like ushering people into their seats and stuff. And she saw that I was just uncontrollably sobbing, and she prayed over me. And it was the best moment that I didn't anticipate. And actually, Sam had a message about when you're in a period of waiting and how to wait well. And it was like, he was speaking to me. directly. It just like hit me like right where it hurt. And it was so transformative that that's when I decided that I was just going to surrender. So I met my husband through his cousin. She and I were going to school in Texas, in college at SMU. It was like, second I met him, I was like, I'm going to marry you. I was so convinced. I was like, honeymoon baby, like we'll come back and we'll start a family right away. And yeah, God had other plans. So they say it takes 6 months to a year. Everyone's different. Some people get pregnant the first time they try, and then some people it takes 6 months to a year. So around the 1 year mark, we were like, okay, like it's not happening. What's going on? So about a year in, we started seeing all sorts of doctors and all sorts of things, and nothing was kind of the matter. They couldn't really point to anything and say that's the reason why you're struggling. It was a very helpless feeling, knowing that you're not in control of anything. So the period between like May and November of last year was the darkest time of my life. So everything kind of just stopped at that point. And I didn't go to Hillsong until December. But in those few months, that's when like God started showing up for me. Sarah invited me to the sisterhood group after we got coffee. And I put it off for a little bit. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to like dive headfirst into it. But I think at the time I was really wanting more connection. So I had met one of the other women who were who had experienced infertility for years and years. And it was really nice to be able to openly talk about like going through IVF and the chaos that comes with it, and like the feelings and roller coaster of it. As a non-believer at the time, I think I needed to be surrounded by people who had a strong faith, and they prayed over me, and it was constant conversation about God working in his own way. It's not glamorous, you don't have those like beautiful moments at home where you're surprised. And so that was like the sadder part of it. But we did have a moment where we tested early at home, and it was on Mother's Day actually that we found out at home that we were pregnant and expecting. You don't have to be anything or do anything or achieve anything to feel that love and to be forgiven. He's never left me, and he's always been there, and he's loved me. And even in the moments where it's hard to love myself, he did.
I fell in love with the city. I grew up coming to LA all the time. I grew up in Phoenix, and so we would spend our summers coming out here, except, there's this perception that people have, which is that it's Hollywood, that it's like glitz and glam and actors and all of that, which there definitely is a part of that. It's the massive industry here, and that should definitely be acknowledged. But LA, like the heart of LA, go to Dodger Stadium, you'll see a good representation of LA. Like you will see the people, the city, you'll see all kinds of different backgrounds and ethnicities, and it just reminded me of home. And so I fell in love with it, man. The idea of us having a church here, it's kind of a dream come true for me, really. What I see for us is moments of encountering his presence like never before. I see a new richness and depth in our understanding of his word.
It's a city of influence. It's a city that has always kind of carved away and innovated in different spaces, and it's known for its creativity and its music and its history and all these different things. But why couldn't it be known as a launching pad for the gospel? You know, why couldn't it be that there's such an amazing church here in Los Angeles that the rest of the country and the world now looks to go, what is God doing? There are great revivals that started in California, places like Azusa Street here in LA, and I'm going, I don't think those days are over. And now the world is just waiting, and it's just waiting for something to break through. And I think we're in that space going, a revival is about to break out. Why couldn't it happen here? Where miracles happen all the time.
So my name is Frank Longest, and my wife of 38 years, Bobby, and I are at home now at Hillsong, LA. We went through quite a period of transition the last few years. In the process of that, our daughter had been looking for a new home to fellowship. She found Hillsong, LA. She had, during a difficult transition time for her, very quickly, she made relationships there, developed relationships with some other gals, and felt so much received. So she wanted us to come try it out too, you know. So Sam came up with this crazy idea of these LSA services, you know. 6 o'clock in the evening, Sunday. We didn't have an excuse then because we don't have another 6 o'clock service here to go to. So we said, cool, well, we'll do that, you know. The Lord spoke things over my life that had not come to pass yet. And it was kind of a weight for me. I just decided I can't keep running from it, hiding from it. I'm got to go look at it again and talk to the Lord about it. And I just had a real talk with God and said, I don't even know if those are even valid yet anymore, or if I've just missed the opportunity or what. And I said, if you're not done with me, I need you to tell me. And it can't be some way that my mind's going to question whether it's really you. I mean, I need a supernatural confirmation. Well, I think it was just the next weekend, October 1st. There was an LSA service, so we went down like we had been doing. And Jordan's up on the platform, and he walks toward the center of the platform, and he stops. And he looks out about 5 rows back where we are sitting, and he starts to talk to me. And he says,
Sir, I don't know you. You're wearing blue and plaid. You got glasses. And man, you stuck out to me when we were singing that song. And it's not because you're one of the only people with like whitish hair in here, but I really felt like God wanted to tell you tonight that he is not done with you, that he is doing a new thing, and that there are dreams that maybe you even had when you were a teenager that God is going to begin to remind you of, and you're going to see them start to come to fruition. I believe that Ephesians 3:20 is your verse for this next season. He's going to do immeasurably more than all you could ever ask, think, dream, or imagine, and the glory of God is going to touch your life and your family and your marriage and your kids and your grandchildren. Can we reach our hands out and just pray?
Needless to say, I was stunned, just opening my heart and saying, thank you, Lord. You're a God of miracles. You heard me. And not only did you hear me, but you answered the way I asked you to answer. Not only did he do that, but he answered in a way that eliminated every excuse that my mind could come up with to say that wasn't the Lord. To me, this story of mine is about a God who is faithful. I knew for many years his faithfulness has been a revelation to me because he's blessed me so greatly. But this is a story about his faithfulness and about him answering, hearing us, and answering us and moving in miraculous ways to accomplish his purpose in your life and he does not give up on you. Pray with intensity, but also pray with faith that he's hearing you. And then he's moving, he's in motion. You may not see it yet, but he's in motion.
John chapter 1, verse 46, Nathanael says to his brother Philip, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" And Philip said, "Come and see." Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him and said, "Behold, look, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit." And Nathanael said to him, "How do you know me?" And Jesus answered him, "Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you." He says, "You are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." And Jesus says, "Because I said that I saw you under the fig tree, you believe? You will see greater things than these." And he said to him, "Truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven opened, and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man."